You are listening to the Techie Leadership Show with Bogdan and Andrei. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Techie Leadership Show. Today with us we have Gabriele Musella. He is an entrepreneurial product lead with over 15 years experience in innovation, product management, fintech, team leadership, agile strategy, UX data, FCA. Hands-on experience of new digital products and leading big teams of over 20 members. He also has international working experience in Finland, UK, Italy, Hungary, Czech Republic, the USA, a true globetrotter. And since he likes giving value back to others, he has been a mentor at Virgin, Startup Bootcamp, advisor at Harvard, and lead mentor at Google. He has founded free tech companies and has facilitated the organization of conferences at MIT, TEDx, DMI, and University of California, Berkeley. Hello, Gabriele, and welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Would you like to add anything more about yourself?
Maybe that I'm an obsessed tennis player. I play tennis 3 times a week, so I can't imagine my life without playing.
That's why you're so fit.
Thank you very much.
It's a very difficult sport to play intensely. I can't imagine running around. My idea of a sport is fishing. The fish does all the work.
That's a good one. Yeah, tennis is very technical, but it's also it's a meditation act. So you're there and you're meditating with your ball and a racket.
Yeah. So did you try to go professional with tennis or?
I did go semi-professional, so I did a few tournaments, and especially when I was in the US, because actually when I was working at MIT, they had like so many courts, so I was training every day and doing a few tournaments. But yeah, to go professional, to be an alien. I'm not so good like as a professional.
You just need to be the top 1,000 players in the world.
It's like just easy.
Niente.
No, I'm asking because recently I've heard like a story, a guy telling like what motivated him to get into business, and he said another tennis player that he admired a lot went into business, and he did some digging around and find out why he decided to go into business, and said like the tennisman logic. He said like I was in position 180 something. The guy said
80 people.
Yeah, and I was making money. I was with all the equipment, the trainers and everything. Actually, I was breaking even, sometimes losing money during a year. And said like, I said like I am like 180 something in the world in tennis. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering how much is the 180 something businessman in the world making?
The most expensive stuff is actually signing up to tournaments, all the rackets, all that going around, having a coach. Actually, you have a team of people around you. So when you're like a teenager, your family really need to support you with like 20, 30K per year, in order to make it then to the top 200.
Exactly. So it's expensive and it's like a business.
It is, yeah.
And besides the expense, there's also the self-discipline and it's like having a full-time job with a lot of overtime.
Exactly. And it's also brings a lot of shocks to your back and then the shoulders. So a lot of people just end up like breaking some bones and then they stop.
Yeah. Well, I'd never played anything that competitively before, but I still have knee pains. So I won't tell the listeners to be dissuaded by the fact that going pro in any sport will give you back pains or knee pains. Those you'll get with age regardless.
Anyway.
Okay, so without further ado, let us get on with the show. Tell me, Gabriele, what is the biggest leadership success story that you have witnessed personally?
I think one of ourselves in the company in CoinRule, I think it was like me with the other 2 co-founders, the 3 of us. We were in the middle of fundraise before COVID-19. It was February 2020.
Okay.
And it was very, very interesting because we had a term sheet on the table with a big VC in London, and it was all sorted. We had like many meetings with this VC, all good. But then COVID came in, and within 2 weeks, I remember the first 2 weeks of March, the conversation with the VC went totally different. They start like really hitting hard on the valuation, lowering the valuation. And at some point, we found that in few days, we basically all the work we've done in the previous months of meeting them and actually, dealing with all the clauses of the shareholder agreement, then everything was just burned. And they wanted to invest an valuation that was just slightly higher than the previous one from the year before. So, and our money in the bank account were actually running up. So actually we had a situation where we didn't have much funds to be able to actually still paying the salary to our team that was at that time was like 10 people. And on the other side, we could like get something like around $500,000 in at a valuation that was super bad. Or we can just say like, you know what, let's not accept this very bad deal from this VC. Let's keep going. Let's cut ourselves salary. Let's like, bring the team in an active responsibility of cutting a little bit the salary as well. And, let's see if in the next 3 months we can go through this storm and actually make it. But before taking this decision, we had like something like, I remember like for 3-4 nights, I was not sleeping. I was just reading blogs, reading around, like trying to find some solutions to the situation. But the leadership actually, like came from the actual team, not from one single person, but the 3 co-founders. We actually decided like, if we need to make something, it to make sense. We need to actually honor all the time and the hard work that these people have been doing for the last year in our team. And we cannot allow someone else just to come in and to be a shark, to cannibalize our work by offering the same valuation. Usually startups, they actually double or triple the valuation 1 year to another, right? And that didn't seem right at all. And I always, when I started this company, I always told my co-founder, either we make things right, either we can compromise a little bit, but we need to do the right thing. And the moment we stop doing the right thing, I would rather close the company and do something else and add the value with, to some other proposition or company. And and then we went through these 3 months, were very hard. Some people on the team actually, a couple of them, they relocated somewhere where it was cheaper to live. The team actually, surprisingly, they actually really cut themselves the salary by themselves. Actually, they actually proposed to cut their own part. They really, when I had a call to army for everyone there in that speech, I remember everyone was super happy to step forward. Like, yeah, we are here. Don't worry, we are for the company. Let's do it. And then what happened after, in June, we end up having another lead investors, and then the fundraise. There were like 5 more angels joining, and now it's going very well. I mean, actually, we are completing the fundraise right now, and we are also going on seeders for the crowdfunding campaign. So, there were like 3 months, like there was really like uncertainty. So on top of all the COVID crisis and mental stress, we also had, the fundraising, not having fun in the company. That was very stressful, but the team in itself gave like a lot of energy and a lot of optimism to actually the 3 people that were supposed to lead the team. So it was really a giving and receiving type of leadership and direction in the company. It really made me think that a flat structure, that works very well for us and probably works very well in also other companies.
So it's really interesting because you have like it's really stressful having also the idea of running out of funds and also having all this pandemic going on around the world, so putting additional stress. Mm-hmm. And the team stepping in, and actually you in 3 months you were able to find new financing, which is awesome. My question is to you, what happened then? Did you increase the salaries of the people working there, give them like bonuses and stuff like that?
Yes.
See some appreciation.
Yes, totally. Actually, we gave out of the team, like only I think 3 people didn't have stock options, so we actually gave stock options. Then the salary, and actually we raised the salary, so we went like to normal salary, and also we raised it, and also we gave them a bonus when the 50% of the fundraise went through. But that's something that we always do. Every fundraise, we always give a small raise of the salary and also a bonus. Also because we are very lean in that term. I mean, our team is so remote. We have most of the tech team is in Pilsen, near Czech Republic, near Prague in Czech Republic. It's 1 hour away from Prague.
Where they make the beer.
Exactly, it's a city where they make the beer. Exactly.
Persland.
All the city.
A good location, good location.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like every time we go and there's a new hire, we bring in there and we go to the brewery. So that's the. No, it's an amazing city. It's a very small, but it's very cool. And our tech team is there because our CTO actually was born there. And then after London, was like, you know what, I want to go back there. And then he's building a house and stuff. So actually, we have a very nice office in a co-working space there. And so it means also that the salary are, four developers in Czech Republic cost as much as one developer in London, a senior developer in London. So we are very lean. So for us, you can actually give raise on salaries pretty often because we start from a very low point.
And I'll share with you one secret that not a lot of businesses know. So keep that secret to yourself. Mm-hmm. Developers, when they work remote, they tend to work more without knowing because they have no one to compare themselves with. So they feel guilty every day. So they work 1.5%, 50% more than they would normally do it without even knowing about it.
Well, okay, that's very surprising. Okay, that's a good start. Thank you for sharing.
So it's very good for you that you have remote developers.
Yeah,
they're remote.
Remote, yeah, because on the other side of the coin, I mean, you can also say they are less engaged. There is no team around them. They're less motivated, so they work less. That's also another point.
Not with developers. we like to be left alone, so we can spend all our time in between our years and think about what we have to do.
What we saw in our company is that if a developer already is used to work remotely, actually it's like you said, like they work a lot. If they were working in a normal company, they come remote. They have the first 3 months, they're a little bit confused.
Yeah, of course.
They have to get used to
it,
exactly.
but afterwards it's smooth sailing.
Yes.
So what inspired you to take this course of action? Because most businesses, they wouldn't take this course of action. They would think like maybe the temptation would be there to actually initially take the money. And then if the deal falls through and you have the money, it would be like cut jobs,
cut the losses.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what I mean. That's like a big difference between my co-founder Oleg, COO, that also takes care of the business development. Yeah, he's very like pragmatic. Like let's do and go, let's do it and that's it. I'm also very pragmatic, but I don't want to get screwed over. So actually, every time also like in the first fundraise before the pre-seed investment that was 250K, I remember the first investors really came out with a low valuation and had to negotiate it for 3 weeks. So actually I really like to negotiate and I'm very frontal in the negotiation because I want to get a good deal every time. And then with this seed fundraise that we refused. So basically the previous valuation at the end ended up being 1.3 million. And that was last year. We didn't have product, we didn't have users, we didn't have traction. Then after 1 year, we had a product that was live, 13,000 users, 10K revenue every month, and 5 million traded on the platform. So actually, we had a very good product. And the VCs would propose like a 2 million valuation. That is basically nothing, given that our conversation was always at 4.5 million. So basically, I negotiated very hard. So I just didn't feel right. And then even if you accept such a low valuation, then how you're going to look in front of the new investors in the future? You're just going to look like a fool or like someone that just like doesn't know how to negotiate or how to preserve the value of the company, of the product that you develop. So it's also, I always put stuff in perspective on the long term, like saying like, okay, if I do this, how it's going to look in 5 years, in 10 years, to myself first, to my team, to my investors, and also to anyone that look at that story. And it didn't look right. So that's why I really pushed back.
I guess sometimes no deal is better than a bad deal.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, they are buying a piece of your company. So I need to be comfortable to give them a piece of my company. When people always kind of celebrate fundraise, I don't know what they do it. You're selling a piece of your company to someone else. And these people need to come into your house and actually need to do business with these people for 5-10 years. If these people are shy,
it's like a marriage.
Yeah,
it's like a marriage.
So with that, Gabriele, how important are leadership skills, especially like in this, when raising funds, when working with VCs in this world? Because in my opinion, it's still aside of leadership. How crucial have you found to be leadership in that situation?
I mean, it's a very tricky question. I mean, because first of all, the etymology of the word leadership, I don't know, it's like very complex because leadership is everything and nothing, right? Someone says leadership is about communication, and that's yes, that's one big part of it. I always over communicate and I repeat stuff 3 4 times. I look like a, like so stupid when I say stuff 3 4 times in three different ways in three different situations. So that actually I make sure I don't mind to be perceived as a bored person that just repeats stuff, but I just want to make sure that people in my team understood the message and what I'm saying, and in two, three
Good.
different ways. So I sacrifice that kind of being cool and being like um, kind of like a balanced person, but I prefer that actually people like really absorb the message and actually act towards it, because you have a lot of people that need to do stuff, so indirectly need to actually kind of nudge them in order to them to do the right thing. So the leadership stuff, it's always a tricky one. So if the question was like, what's the main quality of the leadership? And I mean, in this situation, it's about stepping back, having a clearer vision of what's going on. And for that, for example, sketching and actually the visual language, like really pen and paper for me helps a lot. My intelligence is mostly visual and abstract, but not really, sometimes not logical or mathematics. So for me, visualizing what's going on from like stepping back helps me a lot. Then evaluating the strategically all the possibility, and then communicating them. And then I have like that personality, I think personality aspect that is really going straight into one stuff and be very stubborn about it. And I mean, I'm like 36, so I've learned in the last few years how to be stubborn about a specific thing that I really believe they're right, and they're really when I really rationalize them and I really believe they're right, and most of the time it works, because sometimes people cannot see what you have seen, and yeah, so there are like few bets that let's say 3 times a year at least I have these three really stubborn point that I really wanna
Okay.
push for, and those one helps me a lot.
Yes. Learning how to use stubbornness for the greater
Exactly.
good.
Yeah,
Good.
but I think it's also good because it's complementary to my co-founder that is he's like a people person. Everyone loves him because he's always moderated and he always makes everyone happy, right? So I cut through the butter, but he's actually spreading the butter all over.
I love that. I love that. I'll keep that in mind. No, it's similar to. I have a friend that did a lot of high tech stuff for development, software development, and anytime he onboarded new projects, he always told people, "Listen, you have the sweet spot, all your dreams come true. You have things that, well, they're not perfect, but we love this. And then you have things that are non-negotiable. So strive for the things that are non-negotiable. Negotiate for the things that are in the sweet, that are good enough, not perfect, but good enough. And keep a little optimism. Maybe, just maybe, you will hit the sweet spot. But the way it's similar to what you said, I will not tolerate them to undervalue me. This is non-negotiable. Whatever happens, we will do whatever is necessary. For this, we will fight.
Yeah. And moving on, what is the biggest leadership failure you had the unfortunate experience of witnessing?
Oh my God, like so many of them.
Yes,
I mean,
usually they're more than successes.
I mean, if leadership also means, I mean, in this case, maybe uh, I can maybe bring one example from one of the company I worked with.
Okay,
I cannot say names.
no
But
problem.
it
Perfect.
was an innovation lab of a big bank, and I think the problem in that case was that we were kind of perceived as cool people. So it's kind of a typical, how a typical corporation, they have like the innovation lab. They isolate this group of people so they can work in agile, lean methodology with Kanban, Scrum. They can have fun. They can do like all crazy stuff, and they get perceived from a bank. They get as like the funny guys that are up there doing stuff that no one understands, right? And then sometimes, like when someone working for the corporate bank, the more boring part actually is getting demotivated and depressed, burned out. They send him like to the cool place, like the play field,
Okay.
the innovation lab, to do something cool, like a mobile app or something. Anyway, so in the most of the banks, I would say that that's the case. And usually what happens, you have people coming in with the fresh expertise and skills, and they actually try to reinvent some of the models, like how the mortgage, how the risk profile for mortgages is defined, and try to make better things, and actually with the new technologies and new methodologies. But then most of those, you do a proof of concept 4 weeks. It's very fast. It's very cool. You have it there, like you do testing, you do paper prototyping, like small prototypes, and then you have the first kind of metric that look good. And then usually what happens, you have to go around in all the bank to actually ask if someone in the bank has a budget like 1 or 2 million to put down to actually implement the project and eventually deploy it. And one thing I witnessed in terms of leadership was in one of these labs where literally 95% of the projects went into trash. So and that was mostly because the main I would say the leadership of the lab, the 2-3 people in charge, were not really actively buying into the project and going around the bank and actually selling it at strategic level, with the maybe CEO group in the bank. So that one was basically all the kind of middle manager and junior manager going around the bank trying to sell the vision of this new proposition, and proposition that were like kind of something like 10 years ago. There was already something like Monzo or something like, so these big banks, they had already this digital challenger within the bank. So this kind of new banking hub that could like really kind of capture the early or the youngster market, but they didn't deploy it. And that was, at least what I saw in one case, was because the leadership was not really buying into this project, seeing through what could happen in the next 10 years for millennials or for the Gen Z or Gen X, the new generation. And therefore they didn't do that work, and this project they never saw the life, and that's how a few of the British banks lost a lot of market shares that was then captured by Revolut, Monzo, Sterling Bank, all these like new banks.
No, my God.
Yeah,
and that's interesting.
It's unfortunate I cannot say names, and because I cannot go into details, so I get sued.
It's not a problem.
No, but it happens because, as you said, like at the beginning, the department was set inside the bank, like in a bubble. But the problem was the people that got in that department also bought into the mentality that we're in this bubble and we're separate, and they didn't go outside to evangelize and tell them about the cool stuff that was happening in the bubble. So as a leader, okay, you can be in a bubble as a leader, but when you have something, you have to go outside the bubble and tell people, come inside the bubble and see what's going on.
Exactly. I would say like they were doing a very good job inside the lab, but nothing outside. So that was like really the problem.
This isn't the first time I heard something very similar. In the 80s or 90s, Kodak, the big company, photography company, they had their own bubble where they said, here, have some funding, do some R&D. And guess what the guys invented? They invented the digital camera, and Kodak was like, yeah, that's not happening. We don't see no value in this. And 20 years later, well, the rest is history. So I understand perfectly with the stuff with
and probably the budget to test a new product like a digital product for Kodak was probably very low, for them. Maybe it was like, I don't know, 0.5% of their yearly budget they spent, in producing new cameras. Maybe so it could have been very easy for them to test a new product.
Yeah. It's I hear a lot of material online, and not only online, how to create a vision for the company, how to make your people, your teammates buy into the vision. But that works both ways. If the leadership doesn't believe in the vision and only the teammates believe in it, you get the example that you just gave us.
Yeah, I mean, with the vision, it's very funny because everyone talks about vision, but vision actually requires one simple thing, actually to see.
Yes.
And if you don't have like, if you cannot see, actually there's no point in making a vision. So people should learn first how to see what's coming up in the future, actually how to visualize the future, and after they can build a vision.
And that's a skill. That's a skill you have to practice.
Yes, but when I see I'm very pragmatic. So when I see actually visualize, I really think like people should actually, do drawings, actually use more like the design thinking tools and techniques to actually build the
So
future.
how often do you find yourself like drawing out your visions
Oh,
or your
always.
ideas? Or
Every day, every day. I like tons of notebooks and always 2-3 pens. And yeah, but me, for me it's pretty easy because I come from that world. I come from a design UX background. That's what I started. That's what I've been doing before jumping into the startup world. I was always kind of head of UX, user experience lead in several companies. So for me, it's kind of natural to use the visual language. But imagine if you can put like a pen and paper in the hands, I don't know, of Elon Musk or like any other like leader that come more from either a technical or a business background. I think they could really add like a lot of value to the product in itself, like how it looks, how it works, and they can also then also use these tools to do more business-oriented activities, like writing a mission, building a vision, or even do the financials, understand how the structure of the
how they
company will
work?
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into the next question. Like, what is your leadership philosophy?
My leadership philosophy. Oh my God, that's a good question. I think it's. I think I let everyone talk, the other talks, and I'll talk, and then I just summarize what they said, and I make it look like it's my decision, and everyone buys into it.
And
So
now
I think
everybody will know about it.
exactly. I think
Still in credit. That's how you do it.
exactly. I think it's called something like collaborative. But actually, yeah, collaborative and participative. These are the two things. But then I will say there are some moments, like maybe 20% of the times, where I just switch to command and control. When there's like some crisis, like the 3 months I was mentioning before, the COVID situation, yeah, that was command and control. It's like, guy, no one has to say anything. It's a dictature. It's like a regime. You do whatever I say. That's it. Otherwise, we don't go through that. And
and that's something interesting. How do you know when to do the switch? Because you cannot be command and control all the
All
time.
the time, yeah.
no, absolutely no. It's like, only you can use it only. It's like when you highlight a text, right? You can only highlight few words. If you highlight too much stuff, then it doesn't make any sense anymore.
Good.
So it's like, yeah, I only use it like in specific cases, like this year maybe only once, basically with that situation. And I'm really nasty when I do that, and people hate me, and then I need to have like few months to recover my image, because then, and also the relations with the developers and the designers, because they hate me after
Well,
that.
that's also a job of the leader. Sometimes you have to be the hated person inside the company because you have to
Yeah.
take hard decision to make sure that the company and everybody survives and thrives afterwards.
Yeah, that's me. I'm always the bad cop. I mean, my co-founder is the good cop. He's always smiley and nice, and I'm the bad cop. So I'm actually, we also use that in business when we do deals or partnerships or some contracts. He's the one kind of accommodating. I'm the one going straight frontal in the negotiation, and then he's the one that solves the negotiation by finding a good compromise, but always maybe a better deal for us, a lower price. So yeah,
So
I think
do you
our
find like,
co-founder is good.
and do you find like this partnership, this, because you see it like in movies everywhere, the good cop and the bad cop, does it really work
Yes,
in
yes.
your
Actually,
experience?
you almost have to have a bad cop and a good cop. Really, I mean, I cannot imagine any other, because when you have a negotiation for a contract, a deal, an investment, anything you want, but you need to have like that, the third person that kind of put peace between the two parties, right? So yeah, you need to have, I think if you don't have a co-founder, bring in maybe one of your manager, or maybe the guy that takes care of the growth and sales, or like a third person, even if it's a junior one, that is in the conversation. I can say the kind of the peace word towards the end, so that you find a compromise. Otherwise, it's just
Ah.
heads against heads. You do negotiation, and it's not good.
So you also need a person to smooth everything over and make
Yes,
peace
yes,
at
yes,
the
yes.
end. Interesting. I like it.
And if you want to know where I learned this, it's very interesting.
Where?
I learned this from some mafia movies.
Mafia movies?
Yes. There's always a third person that is the one that kind of managed to solve the situation, and kind of going forward without any blood being like, kind of spread.
Yeah, if I'm thinking now about,
Yeah.
that always
Yeah.
happens like in
Somebody
movies.
that keeps the peace.
Yes.
Or tries to keep the peace. That's
Yeah.
good. Go.
Okay. Can you share with us the top 3 leadership tips that you have for aspiring new leaders?
Leadership tips. Okay, so let me check. I think one is that it's a communicating, over communicating. That's one. And when I mean over, it's like using several means of communications for several type of people: introvert, extrovert, some people with a different gender or culture. You need to accommodate your communication and adapt. It's almost like a dress that need to be kind of built on each person. So you need to be a good dressmaker to actually have that type of communication relation with each people in your team. So and over communicating, text, email, voice, visuals, everything. Usually in a book, a good author, a good writer, usually they write one concept 7 times if they really want that concept to go through. Now when you speak, I do at least 3 times. That's one. In a conversation, if I want really that there's a specific point I want to get through, I say it 3 times during a conversation, let's say that is like half an hour long. That's the first one. The second one
Okay.
is do the right thing. There is like so much crap in this world. There's no really point to do like not the right thing. There's already so much like problems, like you name it in this world, that at least in your small part, try to do the right thing, the thing that seems more rational, the thing that is good for everyone, the thing that is good for the commonwealth of everyone. For your team first, for society for second. So there is always that underlying thinking of having a karma, and your karma need to be good, and the karma also spread towards your team, towards your product eventually, and towards society. So do the right thing. Don't just play evil for like having like a 10% more revenues. Revenues are important because you need to, of course, make a business, but also do the right thing. Do a kind of a good business model, because even capitalism is being like now evolved into green capitalism. So there is all this ethical component that's coming inevitably in our life, and you can build the company with that. So in our company, if
Yes.
something doesn't make sense, it's not right, we just don't do it. I mean, it's funny, but almost every, I'll say 3 to 6 months, I always kind of threat my co-founders to close the company because we are not doing the right thing. So they get scared. Like I was like, guys, I'd rather just close the company. So that's the second thing. The third one, that's about really taking calculated risks. And I mean, you need to take risks, but they need to be really calculated, and that taps into strategy, right? So strategy is something that I had to learn, and then I found myself actually that I'm good at it, but I had to learn. But then, take like calculated risk that take in consideration your team first. So put your team first and check, your decision how they're going to affect your team, their family, their kids, because they all have lives, right? So do that calculated risk, and then at some point, take your responsibility, because when you take then a step, you need to know that if you are the founder of the company, the leader of your company, you're going to be the last one left with with the problem in your hands, basically. So my leadership approach is also actually to be always supporting the team from the back, pushing them instead of just being front and say like, guys, follow me. I mean, at least I try to do that. I don't know how good I am in that, but I try to actually support my team from the back by taking calculated risk and try to protect them.
And how are you pushing them forward?
Yeah, that's good question. By annoying them a lot, like someone that I'm just like they're annoying, like really perseverant and persistent, and sometimes they just like leave me alone. But I try like in a very smooth way, but then after I try like to nudge them with several tips or hints, or that's how I try to support them from the back. And if I see that if there is something in their life bothering, I just like we have one-to-one meetings like every week with everyone. Because at the end of the day, the company need to come towards your life. It's not the opposite. So when they say work-life balance, I always say life-work balance. So life comes first, and then the company comes around you and accommodate your life. So I always try to understand what's in the human side, what's behind the needs, and if I can do it to the company, if I can make a small change that will help them, why not? Even if financially, if they need a little bit more money. One of our guys now that he just moved to Prague from Pilsen because he's young, he wanted to have a new experience. Straight away, I had the one-to-ones like, look, take a raise of salary and like 20% raise because before even him asking, because I know he's gonna ask and he's gonna ask maybe in 2 months, but
Yeah.
it makes sense.
It makes sense. And I like the fact that you have each week you have one-to-ones with everybody in the company.
That's important. Yeah, that's important it's important for the mental health of everyone, but it's also important for actually having people stick around a little bit more. So when I did this one with my previous company, the first one I did it not many one-to-one, and people were just churning, were just going away. And the second company, I started having like people that stayed with us for like 2-3 years. So it was pretty good.
Nice.
Feedback. Yeah.
And do you also encourage the people inside the company to also have like life first and work second?
Yes, totally. Our CTO works some strange hours, like 6 to 8 a.m. And then he brings the kids to school, and then he works 11 to 4 p.m., 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then he spends time with his kids, and then he works from 10 p.m. to midnight. So, it's like everyone does that. I play tennis, and then I work more at night. And also now we also do what we call the mental fitness lab sessions. So we have our.
What's that?
We have a Rio. It's an amazing guy. He's an ex-Googler. He was at Google, and now since like 7-8 years, he learned all the meditation techniques. He's a yogi, so he does actually yoga, meditation, and breathing techniques. So he's very expert in tech companies as well as meditation and all these techniques for improving your mental health. So we have every month we have one session, everyone in conference call, and we learn about these techniques. We do yoga all together. We do breathing techniques all together, and that brings the team very, very close to each other. So we started like 3 months ago. We now bought like session for the next year, so it's pretty good.
Nice.
A team.
A nice company.
I
like it.
Yeah, actually we are recruiting. So if anyone wants to join, welcome. It's remote, pays well, and we are very hippie.
We will add links. Don't worry about that. I just wanted to ask one more thing. Do you or your team use cookbooks? As in a cookbook is like a set of steps or recipes for what you have to do to get the things you need to get done.
In
like
terms
procedures.
of product development procedures, when we do the product planning and we have our agile with user stories, and we write in the stories like acceptance criteria, the user story, we also write kind of the checklist of what you have to do to actually achieve complete this task or this feature. So I think there is an element of cookbook of step by step how to do it.
Because you mentioned before that you write a lot because you're visual and you check, and I wanted to know if you encouraged also your team members to keep like a journal and write and do retrospect and for the past and also for the future.
Yes. As a team we do it also retrospective. Singular member, I kind of mention it and ask them, but some people just like with drawing, some people feel like a little bit ashamed or embarrassed. For them, it's like doing something very personal, and I don't know. It's very fun. It's like something very, very private, and some people just are embarrassed to actually sketch something in public. So when I try to do like kind of,
I know that feeling.
I know why.
So I learned this year, I learned how to draw.
They in school they had an assignment and they drew, and they had a teacher, tall, bigger person, very authoritative, who said, "You cannot draw. You don't know how to draw." And they believe that because when you're a kid, you believe stuff like that.
That's true. It comes back from education. That's true.
Yeah. We had like a bad arts teacher. I had like this. So, and I picked up like a doodling. Some guy had like a learning 1 hour how to doodle, and I was surprised. Like I really learned in 1 hour how to do some basic doodling there, but it looked really good.
The cover for the podcast, he made it.
Oh wow, that's cool. Nice.
I don't know if it passes somebody with an eye for design and UX if it passes or not, but still house made.
Everything that is original always win. Among other stuff that are kind of copied. So if it's original that you made it, it's a much more value, and you can see it, and it's much better.
Because it holds the artist's intent.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And that's something that is a problem with digital assets sometimes because you cannot see the artist in the, you cannot see many more details or grain that you can see in the actual notebook, on the actual pen. So yeah,
Yes.
it's
And
important.
Gabriele,
And actually, one
since
last thing,
writing, yeah,
you
go.
know, I don't know if you guys know John Maeda. John Maeda is actually the
I
inventor
think.
of the generative art. He's like he was head of MIT Media Lab. He does a lot of coding, invented a lot of new design coding techniques. Actually, the way he codes is like with a pen and paper. He actually does pseudo code with a pen and paper, and then he translates it in code. Everything, and actually
Yes.
does a lot of coding, right? So yeah, even the best of the best use this technique.
I have to say I also use it, and for example, if I want to learn a new language, coding language, or even like a human language,
Pen and
from I've
paper.
got the pen and paper. It's the fastest way. You just start writing it and expressing your thoughts in it, and it's way faster than if you're just trying to assimilate looking at books and reading them.
Yeah,
It's the
great.
fastest way to do it. I don't know if it's muscle memory or not.
It just
I
works.
don't care. It
The
works.
science behind it, I don't know it, but it works, and that's what I keep
That's what
noticing.
Exactly.
matters.
And since we're talking about books, what is the book that had the most profound impact on you?
uh, I mean, there are so many books. I mean, there are, like, I would say, a couple of them. One is Fictions from Borges. It's one of my favorite authors. He's an Argentinian author, Luis Borges, and I love him. And this one brings, talks about a lot of different words that are based on several conceptions of societies and all like imaginary, very fantasy words. And this was one. The second one is very pragmatic. It's called Venture Deals. It's a very famous book in the fundraising world. As a funder, as someone that's building a company, you have to know venture deals. They also now have an online course that is free. I think it's one of these online courses. I mean, you can find this like venture deals. I don't remember the name of the guy is called Bread something. Anyway, and the venture deal basically tells you each single step of the fundraise, all the legal documents, what you have to do in details, and explains you very well all the single clauses, like what's like a drag along means, what's evaluation, what's liquidation, what's like preferred shares, all these things in details. So basically, most of the time, I found myself knowing more than the average lawyers in the UK and London because
Cool.
especially in Europe, we don't have that culture and the best practices that have been built, in the last 20 years, like, you can find in Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley, some stuff are pretty common. Everyone knows about those. Even like, how much shares you need to give to a mentor, how much shares to an advisor, how much, how big your stock option pool should be. But in Europe, really, no one knows about it. And that's because the main hubs for startups is just probably London, Paris, Berlin, and now a little bit Lisbon, right? But London is still like the
Yes.
strongest one. So by reading this book that is written by Americans, so some stuff are American in terms of legislation, but you can really understand what to do. For example, if you go to a low company in London, they still ask you for £1,000 to just write a standard shareholder agreements. And the way they will do it, they will have like they will come up with
A
like 20,
template.
30
A
pages.
template.
No, not even. That's the point. They don't believe templates, and that's fine because it's a low company, so we expect a customized service. But they will end up with like 20, 30 pages of stuff that's impossible to read. If you go to an American lawyer, it's like 3 pages. And now in the UK there is this company that I always like. I love them. It's called Seed Legals, and I know also the founder, and we have been using them for the last 2 rounds. And actually, they brought kind of American standards in terms of fundraising to Europe. And it's so simple. You go there, click, you generate documents.
Nice.
Everyone is transparent of the cap table of where they stand. You can sign digitally, so it's a peace of mind. But actually, when I go and read each piece, I know them very well because I read this book and I also took this class. So as a founder, you need to know all these things. Otherwise, VC they screw you up. So, and also angels. So you need to know all the differences, all the nitty gritty of these legal terms because you need to protect your shares and your team shares. So Venture Deals, it's a very good book. It's been like
And
written
that's a
20 years
great
ago.
share. It's an
Yeah.
awesome
Yeah.
share.
And for the people listening who might have missed it, Gabriele just mentioned that he went to like the first company, the first attorneys in London, and then found a new company. The purpose is that he writes his own contract He doesn't let the VC write the contract. He writes the contract and they agree upon it. And I'm guessing that's very important that you're the one that writes the contract.
Actually, yeah, in this fundraise, we were the one proposing directly after the second meeting already term sheet, a short agreement. This is it. And they could come back, maybe we change one clause, but not like, negotiating everything. So it's very good if you're proactive in that, especially with VCs. Yes, they may get a bit upset probably, but at least you show that you have an idea, how everything works, and they cannot like really put anything funny inside it. But also with angels, they love it because sometimes they don't have a clue. If they're investing a small ticket of 50K, even for them writing a term sheet and offering to you, like it's a bit too much work. So it's better if you just offer them that option.
Yeah. And plus, those sounds like 50K. If they have to get a lawyer and do the documents, they get to invest like 2-3K in that, and say like I would be better off investing it in the company so I get more shares.
Exactly. True.
And Gabriele, if people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
They should go on CoinRule, our company, CoinRule. CoinRule.io, it's the website. We do automated trading for cryptocurrencies. So if you are someone that is interested in buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, and use one of the main platforms, you buy there. And then after a while, you start understanding that manual trading takes so much time. So what you do, you start adding an automation machine on top of that. And so you can say, if Bitcoin goes down 2%, buy this other coin at this price, given this condition. It's very simple to use. You can, in few seconds, you can create an automated strategy. And then when you press play, this strategy goes on the market and trades on your behalf. And basically you can sleep well because you can protect your funds, or you can also try to generate more money from the money that you already invested in your crypto. So if you go on the website, coinrule.io, that's where you can find my contact. It's gab@coinrule.io. That's my email address. And also, we are also launching the crowdfunding campaign on Seedrs. So actually it's live in 2 weeks in October 2020. Cool. And so if you're interested, if you like the company, you can also invest in the actual shares.
That sounds really good. And we're going to put links in the show notes, and highly recommend people, especially if you like trading, check out CoinRule. And you've heard, like, they have happy employees because the leadership take care of them. So the product is also good.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thinking about investing, do it this year before you read about it in the papers. Because once you read it in Forbes, it's too late.
You know what happened last year? Actually, it was funny because my friend told me when the taxi driver started talking about Bitcoin, sell it. And actually 2 years ago there was a huge crash after the bubble, and literally I went in a Uber in London. The actual taxi driver told me after 1 week the market crashed.
See, taxi drivers, they're the secret.
Exactly.
They're the ones that hear the most conversation.
Yeah, listen to your taxi driver. Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Gabriele, for coming on the show. It's been a true pleasure.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was today's episode. Tune in daily. Rate, like, subscribe, and share, please. Oh, you can find further info and materials in the show notes on techyleadership.com, including links to the guest book recommendations.